Let an oppose. Cut to the chase. You are a genius. Do you know how to speak while other babies are barely struggling to crawl on the floor? You know how to read perfectly while other kids just repeat what their mom says, like they are just a simple brain. When you get to school, you question the teachers and oppos. Boring lessons while the other kids just limit themselves to learning like machines programmed to obey. Since you were born, you have been a classic academic genius, a brilliant mind lost in a sea of absolute mediocrity. But there is a small problem. You live in the era of total commercialization. The world does not need your deep wisdom or your complex thoughts. What they really want is someone with smooth talk to sell useless trash on social media. And you do not have that. They want a product that can generate huge economic profits by tomorrow. And you do not have that. They want a researcher who is submissive and who follows every order without complaining. And you definitely are not that person. Congratulations. You have officially become a genius forgotten by the entire system. Now you are 18 years old. You cannot get into college because your bank account has more cobwebs than money, and you are totally fed up with this materialistic system. Thanks to your superior intelligence, you get a job as a librarian in a small private library with a salary of $800. It is a low salary, but for someone without academic degrees, it is the best you can expect right now. Your plan is to self-study using the books while saving every coin to start a business. Do you want to prove to this mediocre world that you will change the course of history? After a year of saving, the moment to launch your business arrives. You open your piggy bank and your heart drops when you see that only a tenth of your money remains. You know perfectly well that it was your addict brother, that parasite who destroys everything he touches. You find him in his room submerged in smoke and his own drug trips. You ask him about the money and he responds with a sarcastic smirk saying he does not know what you are talking about. You scream in rage, but he responds with a violent punch that leaves you with a black eye and throws you into the hallway like a sack of trash. You lie there on the floor with helpless bitterness. You are completely alone. Your mother ran off with another man and your father is an alcoholic who probably also stole from you to buy his next bottle of poison. For the first time in your life, you cry out of pure powerlessness. You feel crushed by fate. You throw yourself onto a filthy sofa full of ash, looking at the remnants of your brother and Oppo's drugs with contempt. You ask yourself why people do anything for that mixture of chemicals full of impurities. An idea pops into your mind. You could manufacture something much purer than that. If you sold it, you would have money to finance your real scientific project. Immediately you discard the thought because you know it is a path of no return. You scream to cheer yourself up, saying that you can do it and that you are going to win. Finally, you decide to play big and ask for a loan from some dangerous loan sharks with the promise of paying everything back in just 2 months. You decide to spend your very last penny and spend more than a month locked in your makeshift lab to manufacture a magic candy. You are absolutely sure that investors will fight to finance you. The day of the science fair arrives, and when the men in suits approach your small stand, you launch your most academic and detailed presentation. You speak to them about specific compounds, about how your invention reduces cognition friction and eliminates mental noise to strengthen neural connections. You explain that your creation temporarily overrides the brain and Oppo's energy-saving mechanism, allowing the mind to break free from its natural brakes to detect hidden patterns and react to situations with superhuman speed. It is a masterpiece of science. However, a businessman cuts you off dryly with a rude tone. He tells you to stop talking about neurons and explain to him how much money he is going to put in his pocket. When you clarify that the production cost is high to guarantee user safety, half of the investors turn around and leave. Another asks for lab certificates and official tests. You have to admit with shame that the rush prevented you from having the documentation ready, and the other half leaves laughing with contempt. They murmur that they should not have expected anything from such a poor place and that you are just a simple scammer. Desperate, you eat your own candy to prove it is safe. An investor tries one, but makes a face of deep disgust. He shouts that the taste is horrible and asks about the immediate effects. You answer that to protect the brain, the effect takes 30 minutes to appear. The man spits your work into the trash and leaves shouting that he has wasted his time with a disgusting scam. From that moment until the end of the exhibition, You do not receive a single visitor more, and you remain standing completely alone next to the thing into which you poured all your heart. As usual, life is never satisfied with giving you just one hit, because it prefers to kick you when you are already on the ground. While you are picking up the remains of your stand, those loan sharks you asked for money appear to remind you that hell has no office hours. You explain to them calmly that there are still 15 days left until the agreed deadline, but they respond with a cruel smile that they need the cash right this instant. Since you do not have a single dollar to give them, their patience disappears faster than your own optimism. They begin to destroy your stand, that little sanctuary of science in which you invested every neuron and every ounce of your hope. You try to stop them with desperation, but one of the thugs immobilizes you with brute force, forcing you to be the spectator of your own total ruin. One of them takes one of your candies out of curiosity, tries it, and spits it out immediately with a gesture of absolute contempt. He shouts, asking what kind of disgusting trash this is while he starts stomping your scientific creations against the dirty floor. The leader of the gang gets close and whispers a final threat directly into your ear. He says that if next time you do not have the full payment, what they are going to break will be your bones and not a piece of cheap wood. They walk away laughing, leaving you on your knees among the rubble of your broken dreams. In your mind, only that word echoes over and over again. Trash. If this world has decided that you are waste, then you are going to accept the title with pride. You are going to become the deadliest trash. You go back to your basement lab and use what is left of your candy project. This time you decide to completely eliminate any control or safety mechanism. There is no longer time to wait 30 minutes for the brain to adjust itself. Now the impact is immediate. The instant the substance touches your tongue, your brain, which was designed by evolution simply to survive, is forced under the effect of this chemical to work at its maximum capacity without interruption. The user and Oppo's intelligence reaches its highest point because all neurotransmitters are released from their chains. Norepinephrine gives you absolute focus where the world becomes incredibly sharp. Sounds are clearer and time seems to stop while your mind selects information at an amazing speed. Serotonin fills you with total confidence that makes you feel like you have the world in your hands, and fear disappears from your system. Endorphins eliminate any trace of fatigue or negative emotion, while acetylcholine connects every idea and every piece of ancient knowledge you thought you had forgotten. But the most important thing is the dopamine that generates a feeling of euphoria you had never experienced before. Of course, the consequences are proportional to this power. The effect disappears the moment the brain burns the last drop of its energy, leaving the body in a state of extreme exhaustion. The brain will now take that state of maximum alert as its new normal benchmark. Upon returning to the usual state, your body will interpret that you are at a critical danger level and will force you to return to that euphoria at any price. It is absolute addiction. Regarding permanent brain damage, the truth is you do not care at all because the one who is going to use this is not you. You go directly to the end of the street, where addicts crawl like shadows looking for a chemical miracle. You offer them your merchandise and, as expected, they lose their minds immediately and violently. They hand you every coin, every crumpled bill, and every valuable object, just to feel that artificial lightning running through their brain. You use that dirty money to settle your debt with the loan sharks, but your genius mind is not satisfied with simply being even. You want revenge. You look for those same thugs who trampled your dreams, and with a wolfish smile you offer them a sample of your improved candy. You tell them you have perfected the flavor and that you need their expert opinion. Driven by greed and absolute ignorance, they accept without suspecting absolutely anything. The result is mathematically perfect. Those rough men are now your most faithful slaves, trapped in a destructive chemical need that only you can satisfy. Rumors about the magic candy spread through the darkest alleys of the city like an uncontrollable forest fire. Money starts coming in industrial quantities, transforming your old basement into a true gold mine. But unlike other mediocre criminals, you do not allow greed to cloud your superior judgment. You already have enough capital to finance your real scientific project, the one investors ignored out of pure stupidity. You are just one step away from washing your hands and abandoning this dirty game forever. But the reality is that once you slide through the mud of morality, it is almost impossible to stand up again with dignity. Your fame has reached the ears of a big shot, a drug kingpin who has been in the business long enough to smell the potential of your product from miles away. It does not take him long to investigate who the little genius behind the magic candy is. Any given day you go out to the street and that is the perfect opportunity they were waiting for. They kidnap you in broad daylight without caring absolutely anything about the rest of the people. You wake up in a strange room tied to a chair with ropes that cut off your circulation. Around you are men with unfriendly faces who look like they were taken out of a violent nightmare. You knew this risk existed since you decided to cross the red line, but you did not expect them to be so bold as to catch you in the crowd. You prepare yourself mentally for pain or for the end of your life because you have no intention of handing over your secret formula. However, to your surprise, the boss enters with a huge smile and orders you to be untied immediately. He apologizes for the rather inelegant way of inviting you and offers you to be the director of his own high-tech lab with all expenses paid by him. You know nobody gives anything away for free in this disgusting world. The price is simple. You have to hand him the formula of your candy and create a new drug every 4 months. After an awkward silence, the boss notices you do not answer his offer. Instead of getting angry, he slaps his forehead with the palm of his hand, pretending he has forgotten his basic manners. He apologizes to you sincerely and admits that asking for the secret formula from a scientist of your caliber is something truly vulgar and rude. He says he is no longer interested in your formula, but that, in exchange, you must ensure the mass production they need to flood the market. Did you reject him? In that instant, the boss takes off the mask of kindness and his face becomes as cold as ice. He calls you a hypocrite with absolute contempt. He says you have already sold that poison and ruined the lives of hundreds of people, while now you pretend to act with superior morality. You try to justify yourself saying your clients were just junkies and petty criminals. The boss lets out a laugh and asks you if they are not human beings with wives and children who suffer every time they have a crisis because of your substance. You stay completely silent because you have no answer for that. The boss makes a quick signal and his men get close. In his right hand shines one of your own magic candies. He says the time has come for you to taste your own medicine and experience what a real addict feels. His men hold you down with strength and pry open your jaw while terror takes over your eyes. He shoves the candy into your mouth and the chemical explosion is instant. A feeling of surreal euphoria invades your central nervous system. Congratulations! Now you are officially a slave to your own invention. When the effect wears off, the boss explains that now that you are an addict, you will manufacture the drug simply to survive withdrawal syndrome. You try to scream that your will is stronger than any chemical, but he just laughs at your stupidity and throws you inside a locked lab so the show can begin. The first day you convince yourself that you are a superior being with unbreakable willpower. You repeat to yourself that a simple treat cannot defeat a genius of your caliber, and that you have absolute control of your impulses. But the second day reality starts biting your bones. Your body is restless and you start performing random and useless experiments just to try to make your mind forget the desperate desire for dopamine. By the third day, concentration has died completely. You are irritable and every little noise feels like a hammer blow to the skull. The chemical craving has reached its peak and sleep is something impossible while your nerves scream for a dose of artificial euphoria. On the fourth day, the survival autopilot takes command of your muscles. Your body starts preparing the chemical mixture in a state of absolute trance while your consciousness watches from the bottom of a dark well. When you are halfway through the process, you recover lucidity for a brief instant and realize you have become the same animal you despise so much. You feel a sudden desire to end your own life to escape the shame, but terror paralyzes you and prevents you from acting. The opportunity for a dignified death has gone forever and addiction takes total control of your movements. When you become conscious of yourself again, you discover you have a candy in your mouth and the effect drags you back to the abyss of chemical satisfaction. The boss enters the room with a look of total satisfaction and confesses that your entire manufacturing process has been recorded in detail by hidden cameras. He no longer needs your formula because you gave it to him for free while you were high. Your strategic value has disappeared completely, but he offers you to collaborate under his initial rules. You look at the floor and accept without saying a word because you know that now your will belongs to the same man who locked you up. The boss smiles with a disgusting satisfaction upon receiving your affirmative answer. He orders you to immediately manufacture a massive shipment of your magic candy right there so all his men can admire your divine talent and the power of your superior mind. You get to work with almost robotic precision, manipulating vials and reagents under the greedy gaze of the criminals. You reach the final step of synthesis. Just when you pour the last 2 chemical compounds, something planned happens. A devastating chemical explosion occurs that sets the entire lab on fire in an instant. The strangest thing is that although the fire suppression system activates immediately, the water does not put out the flames, but reacts with the liquid metals and makes the fire become 10 times more violent. In the middle of absolute chaos, the boss and his henchmen scream with inhuman pain while they are consumed by the heat. You, on the other hand, remain standing and open your arms to receive the fire as if it were an old friend. You do not feel the scorching heat, and you do not know if it is because of the residual effect of the drug in your brain or because you feel you have finally reached the destiny you deserve. You watch the boss writhe in his own agony and let out a slight smile of triumph. You always knew his threat was a simple psychological game. He could have 1,000 recordings of your movements, but without knowing the exact doses of every milligram. All his information was nothing more than useless trash. His own greed has been the final ingredient of his execution. While the flames wrap around your body completely, all your memories return in a flash of absolute lucidity. You are a genius and you have finally defeated life. That is all for today. I will make similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.